It's a serious social problem, a violation of fundamental human rights. Globally, victims are majorly women, though men and children aren't entirely left out. Sadly, these crimes are perpetrated by intimate partners and family members. Yet, it's one of the most underreported crimes worldwide. Thank you for joining NAPTIP On The Move. My name is Angela Agbegi. Welcome. Our focus on this episode is domestic violence, DV for short. What constitutes domestic violence? And what is NAPTIP doing to curb this crime? Don't go away. It's NAPTIP On The Move.
Every year, millions of people all over the world become victims of domestic violence.
When we talk about the issue of domestic violence, this is an issue that transcends geographical boundaries. It's not something that is peculiar to the Nigerian or rather the African society. It transcends gender. It happens to both men and women. It transcends race. It happens to Africans, Black Americans, Caucasians. It transcends class. It happens to bourgeois, it happens to middle class, it happens to the lower class. And it is something that when we look at statistics, the issue of domestic violence is something that is common all around the world. But the difference is some countries have been able to progressively build a fortified system that protects women. So basically, domestic violence can be defined as a pattern of behavior in a relationship that is being used to control an intimate partner. So the action word is a pattern, because it's not something that is one-off. It's something that happens over and over and over again. And the main goal of that behavior is to intimidate or control an intimate partner.
The various forms of domestic violence include
physical violence, which involves battery. It basically means physically harming, somebody. Constantly we hear about men meaning and killing their wives or girlfriends, and also you also hear about stories of women doing the same thing. Then we have another form called psychological abuse, which is also known as emotional abuse. So this is also a deliberate part in which a person in a relationship tries to demean another person. So it takes the form of like constantly calling your partner names, demeaning names, or looking down at that person. You find instances where you're telling somebody the person is stupid, or the person is worthless, the person is not good enough. Also name calling. You find partners giving their intimate partner demeaning names. Then we also have sexual abuse, and this is when you intentionally have sexual intercourse with your partner even though they don't want it. And for us in Nigeria, we don't recognize what is termed as marital rape, because marital rape in a marriage is termed as, sexual assault. But then over more than 50 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Nepal, even South Africa, recognize marital rape. Then economic abuse. So this is when you intentionally stifle somebody who ordinarily deserves economic support from you. For instance, you don't give your spouse money to run the home, or you don't pay school fees, you don't pay the rent. If you have a mortgage, you refuse to pay that mortgage. And in the case of Nigeria, cases of domestic violence is on the rise. When we also look at our records, especially our call center, which is just one of the reporting channels that we have here in NAPTIP, we get more calls for domestic violence than we actually get calls from trafficking in persons. And most of the calls, most of the complaints or the reports we get in NAPTIP regarding domestic violence, they border on physical abuse, so mostly battery. It also borders on economic abuse, when spouses don't want to care for their families or they abandon the wife and children. And it also borders on psychological abuse.
The effects of domestic violence are enormous.
It causes post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not only people who are involved in a war situations that actually get PTSD. Survivors of domestic violence also experience PTSD, and they experience PTSD in the form of depression. They develop depression, they develop anxiety, they develop trust issues. They also develop substance abuse, and even some of them become suicidal because of the kind of horrors they've been through in their life. Domestic violence can be transgenerational. So children who grew up in an abusive situation also grow up to be abusers themselves, or they grow up to be attracted to abusive situation. And that happens if they don't get early psychosocial help in their life. Because to them, when you grow up in a home where your father is always punching your mother, or your mother is always punching your father, there's never peace. You now grow up seeing it as being normal. So children that grow up in that system grow up to be aggressive when they go to school. They yell at their classmates because to them they feel it's normal.
NAPTIP has intensified efforts to curb incidences of domestic violence.
We have a department distinct on its own to handle cases of domestic violence. NAPTIP recently launched a survivor mentorship program. The survivor mentorship program is a mentoring program by survivors of domestic violence. The idea is that they are going to help us send the message out and also help us to tell survivors of domestic violence that there is hope and they can bounce back and still move on with life regardless of what has happened to them.
NAPTIP is mandated to implement the provisions of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. We have a unit called the Rapid Response Squad. So basically the Rapid Response Squad, they respond to emergency cases of domestic violence and sexual violence as well. They report to me directly. The VAP Act also provides for the appointment of a VAP coordinator. So last year I appointed a VAP coordinator, and basically the task of the VAP coordinator is to coordinate all issues of domestic violence in the FCT. Then the VAP Act also provides for the deployment of protection officers to the 6 area council of Abuja, which was something I did in January. So I was able to identify 12 officers, from different departments. They work in pairs, so 2 per area council, so that they can work in shift. And basically their work is to assist the courts, assist the police, and also assist service providers in carrying out their duties under the Act, and also to assist the victims. Like, for instance, if they need to access service providers like NGOs, the protection officers are supposed to facilitate that. If they need to access the courts, the protection officers are supposed to facilitate that. If they need protection orders as well from the courts, because there are instances where people don't feel safe. If you don't feel safe in your home, or the perpetrator is probably stalking you, or the perpetrator is threatening you, you can get protection, a protection order against that person, and the protection officers are there to assist. Pre-2015, our shelters only catered to victims of trafficking in persons, but with this added responsibility, we've expanded it to also cater for victims of domestic violence. Because when people are caught in domestic violence situations, the first thing is to remove them from that situation, for them to be safe, and that is what we do. So at our shelter, we of course provide a roof over their head, we clothe them, we feed them, we provide medical support, we also provide legal assistance. In the FCT judiciary just recently appointed 4 judges that will try sexual and gender-based violence cases in the FCT, which is a very fantastic and a good development. And what that means is SGBV cases will now progress faster.
The agency's Rapid Response Squad has been strengthened for effective service delivery.
The DG ensured that the Rapid Response Unit, which I head, report directly to her. And what's the essence of that? To ensure that there is no encumbrances. Like the Rapid Response, we ensure that there is rapid response to cases of arrest, you rescue victims, and not only that one, you ensure that there is a diligent investigation and diligent prosecution. There's visibility of the agency, and because of this visibility, cases come in their dozens every day. DG has made it so clear that, please, this is my word, go after these perpetrators, ensure that they are brought to book. And whether they are high profile cases, DG doesn't bother. Her own is that let justice be served. 627 is a short code that anybody, whether you have credit or not, you will always make a call. Unlike where you now have to begin to think, which number do I even call? 627 is so easy that somebody can even look at it and remember. And when you call that, it's 24 hours. And mind you, the 24 hours means that we also work 24 hours. And Rapid Response Unit, we don't turn off our phones.
Underreporting of domestic violence cases is a challenge.
The biggest complication for us here at NAPTIP is that people don't report. There are different reasons why someone will not want to report a case of domestic violence, possibly because they are embarrassed, and pressure from family, and also stigmatization. People will say, oh, look at that woman that her husband is always beating and all that. If it takes you a month to report, that's fine. But the most important thing is survivors should know that there is a system that's been put in place to protect them, and that whenever they are ready to speak up, they have a place to go. For us here in NAPTIP, we have a lot of cases where women report domestic violence, we start our investigation, and all of a sudden they write to say they want to withdraw the case. We also have cases where people say they'd rather, settle out of court than take the perpetrator to court. So These are the reasons why we actually have a very low number of convictions in NAPTIP, coupled with the fact that it is very tasking and it is very difficult to prove domestic violence in court or even rape. We all know how difficult it is to prove rape. And when you talk about maybe emotional abuse, except if that person has been documenting this abuse from day one, it is difficult to prove in court. Which is why when people come, we investigate and we tell them, oh, you don't have a prima facie case. They feel maybe NAPTIP is compromised or NAPTIP don't do. No, we don't use emotions. Even though this is emotional, when you hear stories like this, you cannot help, except if you are inhuman. As long as you are human, you can't help but being emotional. But the law does not recognize emotions. The law recognizes facts, and the law is not a Father Christmas. It will not give you what you don't ask for. So we have to ensure that we do our investigation, we have a prima facie evidence that we can take to court. That is the only thing that can set us up for conviction.
The Sexual Assault Referral Center is a one-stop shop where victims can access help.
Sexual assault referral centers were established to address some of the gaps in support services for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, whether male, female, or child, boy or girl. They have been designed to provide immediate emergency medical treatment, medical examination, document injuries in a structured way, build up medical reports that can support effective prosecutions of rape cases in court, but not only that, to also provide trauma counseling to survivors and provide advice and support for them to navigate the legal system, provide support for them to interact with police, investigators, and to also navigate the justice system. Sexual assault referral centers have been around in Nigeria since the first one was established in 2013 in Lagos, the Mirabel Center. And what the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, funded by the European Union, has been trying to do is to build upon the numbers of centers that were established in 2013 and to expand that number, replicate that number across many more states, because you want a situation where a state that has a very densely populated state like Lagos, for instance, or possibly Yobe with a big landmass, has more than one sexual assault referral center to sufficiently serve the population. You also want a situation where the centers are accessible enough, located within state-funded hospitals where citizens can easily access it. You want a situation where all the other coordinating agencies like police, like the Ministry of Justice, the Office of the Public Defender, you want the DPP's office, and you want a variety of stakeholders who also have a role to play in coordinating SGBV response to also be able to access the center, or at least access its staff and access documentation as appropriate. Since we started supporting the expansion of the SAC initiative in 2017, when the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program started, we have been able to expand that number from the original 9 centers that existed at the beginning of 2017 to what we now have as 32 sexual assault referral centers across 19 states in Nigeria. And the idea is that that number will continue to grow. Across the 32 centers that currently exist, these 32 centers have assisted over 25,000 survivors of sexual and gender-based violence across the 19 states. Sexual assault referral centers provide services free of charge to survivors. That's one of the cardinal pillars of the services, that it should be free, because we want to make it as accessible as possible to as many citizens as possible.
NAPTIP collaborates with diverse stakeholders.
We have FIDA. FIDA is the Female Lawyers Association of Nigeria. In fact, they are one of our partners. They refer cases to us all the time. We work together, we collaborate on projects. They are very progressive, they are very responsive. you know, they don't take issues of domestic violence lightly. So that is one channel that survivors can access. We also have the National Human Rights Commission, who they deal on issues that has to do with human rights. Domestic violence is a rights issue, so people can also access that. Then we'll have the Legal Aid. That's the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. They have a widespread across the country. They have offices there. They provide legal assistance to indigents who cannot afford to go to court. So they provide that support. Then we also have an organization called the Pro Bono Clearinghouse. Pro Bono Clearinghouse, they also work on cases of domestic violence and, you know, sexual violence. Then of course we have a lot of NGOs that work in this space. So there are so many entry points, there are so many responding agencies that survivors can access.
Cases of domestic violence should be reported to save lives.
Encouraging all to save this number. Call 627. It's a toll-free number, and we have officers on ground 24/7 to take up these cases. When we get these cases, trust us that we will do the needful on each case. I also encourage women to also learn to speak up and speak out. You cannot, at the verge of saving your marriage and your life is being threatened, you cannot take away the fact that a lot have died, a lot of lives have been lost in the guise of saving the marriage. No one is after having a bad marriage or having a marriage destroyed, but the fact remains that we have to be alive for our marriages to survive.
Everyone should be aware of the fact that every domestic violence case is a potential murder case. So reporting issues of domestic violence or sexual abuse is very critical. We need to consistently challenge those social norms and cultural norms that enables violence against women to fester. And some people see other people going through issues of domestic violence and just immediately say, oh, it's not my problem. No, we need to look out for ourselves. Some people find themselves in abusive relationships, but they don't even recognize the sign. I'm not saying as an individual you should get involved personally. You don't have to. You can call law enforcement agencies and just tip them off, and we'll carry it on from there. We also need to be wary about issues of always too quick to settle issues of domestic violence. When somebody comes to report, you say, let's settle, let's see how it can make it work. You are not in that person's situation. It is not our place to try to convince people to stay in an abusive relationship. No.
The devastating effect of domestic violence on the individual, and by extension the society, calls for the support of everyone to ensure that it is curbed to the barest minimum for a better society.
Russell Wilson, an American footballer and advocate against domestic violence, said, "The more we choose not to talk about domestic violence, the more we shy away from the issue, the more we lose." Report that case to NAPTIP today, and justice will be served.
NAPTIP On The Move is sponsored by the International Organization for Migration, IOM.
It's that time when we bring you an account of a victim. Keep watching.
I was living with my parents. I called my friend. I told my friend that I need help. So I want to learn hairdresser. She said I should come. She's in the Lagos. The work that she's doing is a shower work. She said I should join her. I tell her no, that I'm not going to join her. Say what I need is I want to do hairdresser. She said there is no way that she can help me. Say if I not join her for this work, I will go back. I will go back to my place. I tell her please. She can't tell me say okay that she will help me. That is the place that I will go. She call her boyfriend. She said her boyfriend should carry me and go somewhere. As that her boyfriend come and carry me, the place that I got myself is Obi, and I can't tell the boy, what am I doing here? He told me that I should wait. I told him that where is the boy that carry me and call me? He said that the boy have already left me. The boy come and bring this test mirror, this thing that they used to use and test people that is pregnant. As I please, the boy come and carry it and go out. The next day, someone send out money. The boy come told me that it's today that I'm leaving this place. I can't say, where am I going? Before I got myself in Mali. But what's happened in Mali? As I got there, I see that there's a shower. I see my madam. I come and tell her that the person that brought me here, he did not tell me that there's a shower. Now he asked me whether the man did not tell me that I'm coming to do that. I'll say yes. He can't tell me say it's a shower that I'm coming to do. Now the woman showed me my room, the place I will stay. Now I can't tell her that this work I know is to do it. Say I can't do it. She tell me that say I can't go back to my place. Now I can't tell her how, even since when I was that woman place, I've not speak to my mother, my parents. I've not heard about my parents till now. So I'm so happy to NAPTIP that they brought me to Nigeria.
For more inquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking, violence against persons and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotline 0703 0000203 or the short code 627, or email us info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria, or watch our videos on YouTube.
Our time is far spent. Thank you for watching, and join us again next week. My name is Angela Agbegi. Bye for now.